Hello everybody, welcome to Planet Holistic. I'm your host Todd Schaefer, and today I have a very special guest with me today. My good friend Josh Reynolds. Josh is a longtime friend of mine, really close friend, and he is currently not in the As You Wish community, but he gets a free pass because he's one of my best friends, and he's also an enthusiast of Myers-Briggs, just like me. We're both kind of amateur MBTI people. Josh is an INFJ, just like me. I'm a Virgo, he's a Pisces, so it's a really cool polarity there. And today, we're going to talk to you about what it means to be an intuitive feeler. So if you are into MBTI at all, and you are an NF, we're going to talk about what being an NF means, kind of what it involves, that kind of thing. So you might be an ENFJ, an ENFP, an INFJ, or an INFP. So we're just going to cover what is NF today and what it involves and explore that conversation a little bit. Josh, welcome to the podcast. It has been a long time coming having you here, and it is my pleasure. I am excited to hear what you have to say about intuitive feelers. Welcome. How are you?
I'm great, Todd. Thank you for having me. It's really fun to be a part of what you've been doing here with this growing this community, and I've heard so much about the community. It's really fun to get to participate and play around a little bit today. Talk about intuitive feelers, one of my favorite topics, one of your favorite topics. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. So let's go ahead and start by saying, what is an intuitive, first off? What does the N mean?
Okay, yeah, so intuitive. A little background for me. I did not know what it meant to be an intuitive. Really, I have to confess, until I met you and Kira. You guys were my first introduction into this experience of what it means to be an intuitive. I always just kind of thought of myself as weird. And so feeling like I was different and outside the norm, I thought differently, I saw things differently than most people, and started having conversations with you and Kira, and you're like, hey, you may be an intuitive like us. Mm-hmm. And I thought, huh? And I had heard of Myers-Briggs before, and I knew that I had tested out as an INFJ, and I knew what those four letters kind of meant, from a 10,000 foot perspective, but I didn't know much more than that. It was really just like, oh, hey, that's kind of fun information, and then I went on with something else. Mm-hmm. And that was years ago, and then I met you guys, and you said, hey, this intuitive thing, there's something to it. And so we actually kind of began to explore it, the three of us explored it together. And it started to become really fun. The more we uncovered, the more we revealed about this intuitive feeler experience, and we started to learn some cool things about ourselves. And things just kind of really started to evolve from there. And I was thinking today, it's just really cool that you and I have not lost our interest in this intuitive feeler concept. Right. We had a great discussion right before this about intuitive feeler related topics. Yeah. So it never ends, really.
Yeah. And Josh has gained a lot of interest with MBTI, as I did, and then we both kind of discovered personalityhacker.com, which is one of our favorite websites for people who are interested in MBTI, because they cover the topic at such depth, and they're so good at it that it offers lots of helpful information for anyone who's interested in Myers-Briggs. It's a very progressive view of MBTI and very user-friendly. And since then, I think Josh has become more of an expert on MBTI than I have, because I think he's listened to a lot more of their podcasts than I have. So, if you are a coach, if you're an NF, you're probably a coach. And if you want to cover more ground with your clients, I strongly recommend checking out personalityhacker.com and their podcast. and learn more about you and learn more about your clients. And you can even have your clients take the free 10-minute test on their website before you work with them. And you can cover so much more ground, so much more quickly in terms of helping your clients to get their results that they want, for them to feel seen, heard, and accepted by you, so that you can learn how to speak their language for whatever kind of type they are. So in the MBTI world, Josh, how would you define being an intuitive feeler?
Okay, so this whole intuitive feeler concept, when I first heard about it, and first of all, thanks for recognizing Personality Hacker. That website and the folks who run it have played such a part in my understanding and growth in the MBTI realm. I even got a personality assessment from one of the coaches through Personality Hacker, and it was so much fun just to have someone ask these questions that I had never considered, things I had never considered about myself. It was super fun. And once again, the results came out, INFJ, and I was like, okay, I guess that kind of settles it. That's probably what I am then. So the whole intuitive feeler label appealed to me in the beginning because of that word intuitive. I think that was the thing that most intrigued me, because I had really struggled to know what it meant to live connected to my intuition, because that concept was so new to me. And I thought that being an intuitive feeler or being an intuitive, I thought that meant being connected to your intuition, like you are connected to your gut sense of what you should do and following your gut. Roughly, that's what I thought it meant. So that's one reason why it really appealed to me. And I thought, yeah, I want to know more about that. So as time went on, I began to realize that it had less to do with that gut sense. It had more to do with a cognitive function. So it has more to do with like how your mind works, how your mind is wired. And basically what MBTI tells us is that it tells us two things, but it only tells us about those two things about the mind, the wiring of the mind only, not behavior, not anything else. It's just, here's how your mind is wired in two specific areas. One of them is how your mind takes in information, and the other one is how your mind makes decisions. So the intuitive feeler label, what that means is that the way your mind takes in information is, if you're an intuitive feeler, the way it takes in information is through the intuition. And that's as opposed to taking in information through the senses. And then the way it makes decisions is through a feeling cognitive process rather than a thinking cognitive process. So you take in information through an intuitive process and you make decisions through a feeling-based process. So that's essentially what those are describing, what those two letters are describing, which turns out it makes us very unique. Folks that have that way of going through the world are unique.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing, if you're going to be all 8 types, but you're going to be dominant in those 4 types, right? So if you're INFJ, you're dominant with introverted, intuition, feeling, and judging, more so than extroverted, sensing, thinking, and perceiving. And again, I recommend you go to personalityhacker.com to learn more about those things. But we're just dealing with the NFs. So with, a majority of the world's population is going to be sensor, which means they use the 5 senses to take in their surroundings, to gather information for data collection. Intuitives are more in the minority, and they're going to be using, is it unconscious pattern recognition? Just pattern recognition.
Yeah, like an advanced pattern recognition.
So that a lot of that takes place subconsciously, but it's also, we form opinions and judgments based on different patterns that we see within ourselves and with other people. And then, like Josh said, the feeling part, we make decisions based on if something feels truthful to us or feels authentic to us or just feels really, really good. Whereas a thinker dominant person is going to use more logic and data to decide something and keep their emotions out of it. So that's a couple of other things I would add for the NF. Are there other things that you want to add to that?
Yeah, that's really good. So this with all of these different letters and processes within the Myers-Briggs coding system, I think the one that is most peculiar is that N, that intuitive learning style, and the fact that we are, as intuitive learners, we are different from sensing learners, and we're different in a ratio of about 3-to-1. It's like 75% of the population prefers to take in information in a sensory way. Only 25% use an intuitive process. So yeah, the sensors are interested in the what's going on in the room. They want verifiable, reliable information. They want information that they can count on, that's gonna that they can depend on, and that they can use to accomplish tasks and to meet their goal or get the job done, whatever that is. Intuitives, though, are really different. We like to know what's going on, like behind the curtain. We want to know what pieces are missing from the puzzle. We are comfortable with like ambiguity and speculation. We're okay with taking leaps in logic. We're really okay with uncertainty, and that really sets us apart from the sensor. That can also be a really good thing because we can take risks, and we can have there can be some big payoff with that as an intuitive. We kind of prefer to take risks sometimes. It's fun. It's fun when those risks pay off, and we actually end up getting good at it if we take the time to cultivate this intuitive gift that we have. Yeah. So that's that first letter. What else about being an intuitive? I think the word that kind of has summed it up for me lately is just curiosity. Intuitives are curious about certain things, and it's not just your average curiosity. It's like an insatiable curiosity. We have to know what's really going on with a concept, with an idea, with any kind of a sort of like an X factor situation that might be at play in a certain setting.
Right.
We're just super curious about what's not being said, what's not obvious.
Right.
We got to know.
Yeah, I agree. In my experience as a life coach and just being a Virgo also, I've always wanted to go deeper and feel into and analyze and use my intuition to figure out people and to figure out myself. So, everything's a double-edged sword if you do it too much. But I've really learned a lot about myself using my own personality type to capitalize on my strengths. And it's made me an incredible coach for other people. Josh has a background in psychology as well, and he has got some amazing strengths and abilities to help people and support them in a similar way, and then offering also some different complements to the way that I help out people. And I'm willing to bet that most intuitive feelers who are listening to this are probably coaches or supporters or deal with people and help them to go deeper with themselves or work with people in some capacity, more than likely. So that's something really cool about NFs. Not all NFs work with people, but I think that they tend to be drawn to work with people more than anything. And I agree with Josh. If I'm in a room, I'm always more interested in what's not being said than what is being said, unless I'm drinking. Then that's more fun to deal. My Leo side comes out more then and get more sensory involved. But definitely, how people are ticking. When I've had jobs, it never really fulfilled me. enough, like being an entrepreneur does, and